Hey Horse World! This week we're giving you a sneak peek inside one of our most powerful NF Plus masterclasses, Dressage for All Disciplines with Mette Larsen. Mette Larsen brings serious credentials to the conversation. She's a national level dressage rider, a board certified physician, and the founder of Mette Larsen Saddlery. She's trained horses from green to FEI, represented Region 8 at the U.S. Dressage Finals, and built her entire career around one core belief. Great riding isn't about perfection, it's about partnership. This masterclass and this episode are designed for every kind of rider, not just those in the dressage ring. In this clip, part 2 of her 17-part series, Mette unpacks what dressage really is and why it's not just for warmbloods, white breeches, or the competition ring. She breaks down big ideas like contact, straightness, and balance in a way that's clear, practical, and totally rider-friendly. Whether you're jumping fences, hacking out, or just trying to feel more connected in the saddle. It's honest, eye-opening, and full of the kind of insight that can shift the way you ride tomorrow.
Okay, now I want to talk to you about what dressage is and what dressage isn't. First, I want to start with what dressage isn't. It's not just for people who want to compete. You could be a backyard rider wanting to develop a better relationship, better balance, better skill with your horse, or you could be a top eventer wanting to improve on your dressage scores, or a jumper who wants to be a little bit better, a little bit tighter on your turns, able to lengthen and shorten, make up that ground, and still be able to come back. That's what dressage is for. Anybody from that backyard to the one that wants to stand on a podium. It's also not just for the pedigree horse. It's not for that warm blood that we bought in France, or we bought in Holland, or we bought in Germany. My first dressage horse was a little Appaloosa, and it won everything because it was balanced. It had a lengthening, it had a little bit of collection, it could do a leg yield and a shoulder in. It presented nicely, it had balance. Since those early days on the Appaloosa, I have gotten horses that were bred for dressage, which makes my job much easier. So whether you have an Appaloosa, a quarter horse, an Arab, a warm blood, a thoroughbred, or any combination thereof, dressage can help you get better and can help your horse get better. It can improve your relationship. It also isn't just for those that are rich. It doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter how much your horse costs. Any horse can improve with dressage. It doesn't matter if you are riding in an arena or not. Dressage doesn't mean that you have to be in an arena. Dressage happens in the warm-up of a jump course. Dressage happens in a field. Dressage happens in anywhere that you are. If you're on trail, you could be practicing movements that help you and your horse get better in dressage. Dressage is not something that's easy to do. Well, it is easy. Of course it's easy, because you don't have to be doing the Grand Prix. You could be doing little steps. You work on the little things. You start with the little steps. You build, you build, you build to the extent that you want to progress in dressage. If it's formal, you're going to work a little bit harder, be a little more particular. If you're using it to help your horse get better, then you'll do it according to what level of rider you are and what skill level your horse is. Coordinate them and improve on that. The biggest thing dressage is not is just on the bit. We have this preconceived conception of that a horse that is in a frame and in round, that is dressage, that is on the bit. That is not dressage. That is part of it. Coming to the bit actually is part of it. Being in a frame is not necessarily dressage, but coming to the bit, getting a little rounder, having a contact, those are all parts of dressage and learning. These are all things that we teach our horse as we progress in our skill set in dressage. So what dressage is not? It is not boring. Everybody thinks dressage is so boring, and I get it. You're thinking, again, circles, 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 paint, very formal, very rigid. I think that dressage is so incredibly exciting. When I feel a horse come to the bit and it's light in my fingers and I can just move its shoulders from one place to the other, that is exciting. When I get on a horse and I feel that I have created a change in its balance, and often this happens by getting them a little bit straighter and they get more confident and they get excited and you can just feel that, that's heartwarming. That's not boring. What part of that is boring? So I'm going to say to you, dressage is not boring, it is exciting. You just have to figure out how to do it in such a way that it creates that excitement for you and your horse. And often that is you start to develop that relationship with your horse, it starts to touch you emotionally, you start to feel good about it, then it's not boring, is it? The other big myth is that dressage breaks horses. Force breaks horses. Dressage doesn't break horses. Dressage actually helps horses done properly. If you get your horse straight, and we're going to talk a lot about straightness through this course, but if you get your horse straight and then each joint goes the way that it was born to go and it flexes and extends the way it's supposed to and it's in alignment, you often get stronger horses with less vet bills, less maintenance requirements, and longevity. These are all things dressage can do for you and your horse. So how does dressage help riders of all disciplines? Well, let's say you're a hunter-jumper rider and you are on course and you have to have a certain number of strides in between fences, and it has to, and you come to your first fence and you can see that you are not quite at 3 strides or not quite at 6 strides. If you have a little better dressage foundation, you can create a little lengthening or a little shortening depending upon where you are in relationship to your fence. And if your horse has a tendency to land and drift to the right, if it understands the right leg better, and it understands that if that leg is on, it needs to move a little bit to the left, or that's a pillar for them not to go against, the better they understand that, the smoother your turn is going to be, the more balanced it will be, the better your horse is going to be for that next fence that is coming up on course. Now you get to the jump off, and it's got to be quick and fast, and sharp turns. If you have taught your horse how to bring its shoulders around, if it can sit down on its hind end a little bit better, if it can get lighter up front and make that turn quicker, it'll make your course come across easier. You can make the quicker turn, the horse is more agile, the landing, you don't spend so many strides collecting and organizing, because if they're already in better balance coming to the fence, the landing's going to be better. These are all things that just take the guesswork out of your jump off. You can add a little more speed or a sharper turn because your horse has got more skill than he had maybe a month or 2 ago before you started really implementing some of these exercises that you can do to help your horse in dressage. Let's say you're the backyard rider and you are just enjoying your horse and you're going out on trail and he stumbles a lot. Well, stumbling could be because his balance isn't very good. So if you could create some exercises that help him with his balance and he stumbled less while he was out on trail, and then you didn't worry so much while you were on trail and you could relax and enjoy it, well, what would that look like? Looks like it might be a little more fun for you. You can also do things with your horse that create a better relationship, a better connection, that feeling of just wanting to be together. And that works both ways. It doesn't just work for the rider to the horse, it works for the horse to the rider as well. And there are fundamentals that we will show you in this course that can create that relationship, that special bond that just makes it more fun. Let me tell you about some of the things that I see across the board in dressage riders, in event riders, in hunter jumpers, and in pleasure riders. I've seen, and even in your Western disciplines, I've seen it in all of them. One of the things that I see is that, and I hear, is that people think that being round, having the horse round, is on the bit. So to have a horse round on the bit, from the perspective that they're talking about, it's really being in a frame. It's that the frame has been created from the shoulder forward by the rein, and then the leg kicks up to that. Well, what happens with that is horses often are in a pretty frame. However, you need to be a weightlifter to carry that frame. They're downhill. They're hard in the mouth. What I want to feel when my horse is up and in a frame is that he's light, that he's elastic, that the energy is soft. And it takes understanding how to get there, that being on the bit isn't a frame. Yes, the frame becomes part of that, but it's a whole mechanism that steps from the hind legs up through the back, through the reins, and onto the bit. That's on the bit. That's a different feel. And if we can get a little closer to that feel, it makes riding that much easier. The other thing that I see is that riders are often holding their horses up with their inside rein. Horses have a tendency, especially around corners, to want to fall to the inside. If we don't correct that and we allow them to continue to fall to the inside, then what happens is the rider uses more inside leg to hold them up. That isn't working. Now I need rein, so that rein comes up and across the wither. Well, that just puts more weight on the inside shoulder. Then you have to use more leg to hold them up, and now you need a bigger bit to hold them up because they've gotten that much heavier. With some of the exercises that we will do through this course, I will show you how to bring the shoulders around the inside leg, in front of the haunches, so that the horse is standing up, so that you're not holding them up with your hand and your leg. Again, this relates to their balance, how you make your turns, how you approach your fences. So another thing that I see so often is that riders are riding their horses a bit downhill. Again, they could be that they're in a frame, but because they're in a locked frame and it's held together and it's from the shoulder forward, all that energy is downhill. Well, that's like riding a wheelbarrow. So now you're chasing this wheelbarrow downhill. What if you could ride a rocket? Now, I'm not saying that at 55 I want to ride a rocket anymore, but I'd like that feeling, that energy that's up in front, that I'm directing, that I'm creating energy behind, that it's directed up front, and now I can place it where I want to place it. That's an uphill feeling. That is a light feeling. That's an easier feeling to ride, and it's a much more comfortable feeling for your horse. Along the same lines, when we're riding down the long side or around a turn, and we're using that inside rein to manage or control our movements or our horse, I look at that like we're riding from the past, because all we are is directing that downhill flow. If I can get my horse on that outside rein, get the shoulders in front of the haunches, now I'm riding into the future. I'm creating the future. So, big thing to think about, inside rein, for me, is like riding the past. Outside rein is like riding the future. And I will teach you the steps to get there, at least the beginning steps to get there. So now your question is, well, what is dressage then? Well, that's really simple. It came from the French word meaning to train, and that is what dressage is. It's training. It's a system of training that you're building this harmony between you and your rider when it's done right. And that is how simple dressage is. Don't think about it any other way. It's training. It's that simple. It's training. Don't get too complicated. The better you train, the more you teach your horse, the easier it gets, the more balance there is, the more harmony there becomes between you and your horse, the better that relationship becomes, the better the flow of energy. And for me, dressage is really about a flow of energy. It's creating all the little mechanics, where to put the shoulders, where to put the hind end, how much contact to have, how much forward to have. Is my rhythm good? Is it a good tempo? What's the cadence? All these fancy words, right? Well, really, it's just a flow of energy from the back legs, through the body, up my hands to the bit. and that I can sit there with my legs, my seat, and my reins and direct my horse, create energy and direct it with ease. That's the beauty of what dressage is. Don't make it complicated.
If this episode sparked something for you, or just made you want to ride a little differently tomorrow, you're going to love the rest of Mette's masterclass. Dressage for All Disciplines is a 17-part series that dives deep into everything we touched on today: balance, straightness, contact, connection, and how to bring those concepts to life in your own riding, no matter your discipline or your horse. And if you've ever found yourself wondering about bit pressure, contact, or how to build softness without tension, Mette's other class, Beyond the Bit, is a must-watch. Both classes are available now on NF Plus, and right now you can get 15% off an annual membership with the code DHW. Just head to noellefloydplus.com to join. Because great riding isn't about being perfect. It's about learning, listening, and showing up for your horse with a little bit more clarity every time. And that's exactly what NF Plus is here to help you do.